So today we're doing something a little bit different. Heading over now to the studio of Matisse, aka ATMA, incredible artist, muralist. His work's seen all across town. And spoiler alert, future Venus and the Cat collaborator. We're doing some work together, you'll see soon. We're just heading over to his studio now so we can meet him, see where he works, see what he does, and have a little chat. So what's the story behind this one?
So it's actually a job I've done, a project I've created for Paint the Change. And the idea was, it was during the lockdown. It's a massive collaborative work where I invited members of the public to submit one flower to say thank you for the NHS, and also representing the fact that there are 200 nationalities in the NHS, which is kind of like the representation of the society. And of course, what I kind of like imagine happened is like everyone came up with a very different flower. It's kind of like a perfect representation of like how we are all different, but it's all flowers and they're all beautiful in their own rights.
Yeah.
And when you put them all together, that really creates something interesting. In the last years, I've done a lot of paper cuts. So you got one here, which are like layered, and sometimes the layers are separated as well to like create more like three-dimensional feel. A piece from some friends as well. I did this one years ago. It was like my period of collage work. Is that the word freedom in Arabic?
There's an Arabic theme, isn't there?
Yeah.
To a lot of your things. Where does that come from?
Because I lived in Morocco for 3 years when I was 20, and it was like obviously a major life-changing experience. It was amazing. So yeah, so many things from the we can say Arabic word or Islamic word as well. In that case, North African in terms of location. And then yeah, you got another paper cut here. In my studio, I tend to like play more with experimental things. So recently, I've started to do some abstract paintings, just to have fun, with like no constriction of lines of concept or anything.
Which is so different to the paper cuts.
Yeah, I understand this. It's more like I guess more like a cathartic.
It's just the freedom of expression.
Yeah, exactly. And because mainly all the work I do on walls are to talk about the theme or work on certain briefs, and sometimes it's nice to have just this space for like pure
See what happens.
And yeah, and there is always something that I'm sure I will be able to take from that and bring into like more large scale work.
This is the thing, you might try something, but then you'll see something that maybe you didn't mean to happen.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you think, there's something else in this. There's something maybe more I can try.
Yeah. This is interesting because this is the very first piece of art I've ever made.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I was 5, 6, something like that. So it's an etching.
Yeah.
So I have this cardboard, and I don't know with what I've done it, but it's very strange. I guess here what's interesting is the kind of start of like sharp line, which I use all the time.
Yeah. How old?
I think 6.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I've been drawing for, well, I guess creative, we can say, for super young.
Yeah.
And did lots of drawings.
What do we have over here? I'm going to move around here.
Continuation of like the fun abstract things.
What's this?
This is another paper cut. It's actually a trombone.
Trombone?
My girlfriend she's a trombone player, so it was a gift for her.
Oh, really? And what happens when you try these things? They stay for a while? Do they stay forever?
The paper cuts, I actually started them influenced by Matisse, because I went to the cutouts show by Matisse, and there was something that really struck with me. He was ill when he started this series, and so he was in bed and he could not paint. So he just wanted to, he said, cut into colors. So he got assistant to paint papers with colors, and he was just cutting them.
Like the great big snail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, when you work on large scale, it takes a long time. It's very like almost mathematical. So it was nice to simplify the process, and therefore again cut into colors directly, still using the sharp lines that I love to use, like in this piece.
What is it? These oils and water?
They're just acrylics.
Acrylics, huh?
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's chat through some stuff. So you've already talked about, we've seen a picture you did when you were 6.
Yeah.
This is your first art. So, but to maybe expand on the beginning, like the roots. Where did this passion come from, and what made you start? And you know, what are your earliest memories? Talk about that.
Okay. All I recall is when I was very young, I just loved Lego. And I remember loving the colors, being mad about, like, you know, when you got this massive pack of Lego, like you look at it, the colors just so exciting, and then be able to construct and make anything out of it. So I remember, like, you know, when you got this Lego box, you need to like create one model.
Yeah.
And probably only once I managed to do it, but I did.
So limiting.
Well, I guess it's kind of like it's directing.
Yeah.
And I think I had so much fun doing other things. So I probably ended up being more a sculptor at the time, using Legos.
Yeah.
And having just so much fun of it. So I think that's my earliest memory. Then I also remember I was doing lots of music when I was very young, and I also remember doing lots of drawings, like trying to draw what I see. Or my mum told me, I don't remember that, but she told me she got a cool picture where we moved to this house and I got all my color pens, and I actually went with all the colors in my hand and went on the wall and be like, one big line of color. I was like, that looks cool. So yeah, I don't know, it was quite having fun with colors and with shapes.
Yeah.
So it was, I think that's kind of like the first thing that came to me. When I was a teenager, so later on, I was still continuing lots of music. And then I really started to get into like drawing portraits, just simply with pencil, but I remember being quite obsessed with drawing portraits. And eventually the two started to match, because again, probably in my late teenage years, like 16 or 17, I got so bored of classical music, as you can imagine, and I told my parents I want to do drumming, I want to play drums. So I ended up luckily be able to do some drums, and that led me to be part of like a few bands, you know, teenage bands. But one of them, which I really loved, was like to play hip hop. And so I started to collaborate with lots of, you know, MCs and like this sort of like the underground scene of hip hop in France, which I guess in the end of the 90s was like thriving.
Yeah.
And as you know, in the hip hop you got like so many facets of it, and one of them is graffiti. So all these guys I was kind of playing with were also going out on like sessions to like do tags, but mainly actually graffiti pieces. They were quite involved into the scene in Toulouse, and Toulouse was also at the time quite a very good town for graffiti purely. Yeah. At the time, street art, as it's known now, did not exist. It was like, you do graffiti, you write your name. And so I went with these guys a few times to see them. I was like, I just love the atmosphere of it, and also the artistry of it, because they were putting so much effort into like, you know, composition of the letters. It was a mix of like, of course, calligraphy, but also you know, using the spray. And I was like, I would love to do something, but I can't get myself to like put my name. So literally one day, I don't know, I went to the shop, I bought lots of paint, and I did a piece with them.
Spray paint?
No, it was not spray paint. It was actually just probably like to want to like be a bit different. Yeah. I just got acrylic, like in big pots. Yeah. And I did a first piece with one of my friends. He did his massive name, and I did like a big spiral in painting, and the spiral was dripping. I was like, this is interesting. So, and I just got hooked totally into the idea of like painting large, and also like being part of this culture. I think it was really rewarding, because it was really nice just nice atmosphere and nice vibe. Actually, at the time I had another street name which was Ken, K-E-R-N, and so I started in the street under Ken.
Where does that come from?
Because a Cairn, which is spelled differently, C-A-I-R-N, is like, you find it exactly, it's like a structure of stones that leads you in the way. And I was like, cool, I'm starting something. If I use this, it would be like, every piece would be like a step in on the way. And also for another reason is by living in Toulouse near the Pyrenees, you find some in the Pyrenees, like when you go trekking.
Yeah,
like
they help you through.
They help you, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I always love this kind of like, I like many things, and sometimes I mix all the things together.